Hello and welcome once again to Ignite Your Impact. My name is Jen Rhodes. I am sitting next to my husband, Matt.
Good morning. Good morning to everyone.
Fidget free.
Yeah, before we hit record, Jen was doing a little bit of fidgeting and everything just kept falling down from cameras to water bottles to mics.
Yeah. Fidgeting.
That's all right. We got it reeled in now and we're ready to go. We're recording.
Or so you think.
Let's jump in today. We've been watching something happen for years, and I think we pieced something together that happened last week, and we kind of have a little bit different point of view on it now, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
So Jen and I have this place that we love to go to on the weekends. And if you know us, it's not our normal place that we go during the week. So we love that place. Everything's great there. But we go to this place on the weekend only. And honestly, we go there because the food's okay. The food's okay. Food's okay. The atmosphere is great. We love the atmosphere.
It's wonderful people watching.
Yeah. But the service, not so much.
Yeah.
And what is so interesting and crazy at the same time, every time someone new starts there, they are incredible. I mean, they are smiling. They're checking on you. They can tell when you need a refill. They've got a great attitude. They can tell when you're ready to leave, and they immediately bring you your bill. It's just a wonderful service when they start. And then fast forward 2 months, maybe even a month of them being there, and they're just like everyone else. And I keep asking myself, what happened?
Yeah. That I'm grinning because we were thinking this last weekend with there's a new girl that started, and I was like, holy shit, she's amazing.
And I said, give it 30 days.
Right? Like everyone starts off great, right? And then somehow they all become the same. I have my own theories about this. However, I don't think they're hiring bad people. I think something else is happening.
Yeah, no one wakes up and just decides, I'm going to care less today. I'm going to be a different person and care less. They drift little by little, and that's what we see over that 30 to 60 days there. The new employee realizes that nobody else is hustling. No one else is cleaning tables. No one else is checking on people. And no one's saying anything about it. So without realizing it, they slowly start to adapt to what's around them.
Yeah. The scary part is they probably didn't even notice it's happening.
Yeah.
Right? Like nobody's going to consciously be like, it's fine. Right? The drift is invisible when you're living it. But it's not just this place. This happens everywhere. Right? And this happens to us personally, right? Health. Nobody wakes up 30 pounds overweight, right? Like it happens from one skipped workout, one drive-through, one excuse, one compromise, all decisions at a time, all added together over time.
I didn't want to interrupt you there, but you said something. If you're watching on camera, you probably saw my face. You said that the drift is invisible when you're living in it. And I want to get back to that here in just a minute because that's a great point. But you just listed off a one example. But think about business. No one wakes up and decides to build a business that is mediocre. They just don't do that intentionally. In leadership, no one says, I'm going to have low expectations for my people.
I'm going to suck right out of the gate.
Yeah, they just don't do that. And in marriage, you don't just stop dating overnight. It's a slow process of things. And here's the part that hit me personally as we've been thinking about this is I like to think that I'm immune. I just like to think I'm immune to this. That my standards are my standards, but I realize that even high performers are affected by the environment that they're in.
Of course. I think everybody wants to believe that I'm different, right? I'm disciplined. I'm self-motivated, but none of us are completely immune. This is the basis of outwitting the devil.
Yeah. And I've caught myself in environments where people will show up late, people will coast, people will cut corners, and after enough time, I've noticed personally that I'm not my best either. I've noticed that. And it bothered me because I realized that I'm not as independent as I thought. The environment affects me too.
I don't think that makes you weak.
Yeah.
Like I think that makes you human. Right? Think about gyms. Like Why do some members transform and others stay exactly the same? Right? Because eventually people rise or fall to the standard around them. Why do you think we built a community around our transformations? Right? That proximity leads to greatness. And when somebody joins, and everyone around them is working hard, everyone around them is tracking because that's the standard. Everyone around them is showing up, right? It becomes normal. And then you adapt, right? Yeah. But the opposite is true.
Exactly. And I've seen it with business owners. I've seen it with investors. I've seen it with masterminds, with sports teams, with friend groups, all of that.
The Royals.
Let's not talk about that right now. Although they won last night.
Oh, they won. Yay.
Yeah. I think the culture decides what's normal. You know, and I started this topic by talking more about environment, but I really think it transitions to culture. And when I say culture, you probably think of like a big organization. But I'll get back to that. But this isn't about blaming your environment. I don't think you blame your environment. I think it's about creating a culture. And this is where I say it's not just a big organization culture, because every person has a standard or a culture, whatever you want to call it. I'm using those two words interchangeable. Whether they realize it or not, they have the standard, they have the culture. And if you ignore something, you just accept it. Going back to some of those examples. If nobody gets held accountable, including yourself, this becomes the expectation.
Yeah.
You built your culture and your standard.
Yeah. The same thing happens at home.
Yeah.
Right? Mom's the only one that does the dishes. So guess what? Mom's the only one that does the dishes. Right? Like, your kids don't do what you say. They learn what's normal and just repeat. So today isn't about restaurants, because frankly, I just had a protein shake, so I'm not hangry anymore, right? Today isn't about restaurants. Today isn't about gyms or businesses. It's about all of us.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about environment a lot before, but I think we'd transition this more to a culture, because I think that it starts with setting your own culture and your own standards, which is what I just said. Regardless of whether it's the gym, the restaurant, the business, but this is about us. This is about people. This is what this podcast is about. It's about setting your standards first.
This just came into my head, and I didn't want to interrupt you. Think about the rhetoric during quarantine. Everybody was kind of, quote unquote, off, right? All the funny little memes of, I'm going to sit at home and get fat and drink all day. Like that was a cult. Like, we were all going to watch Tiger King, right? Like, that was one culture. And then in the middle of it, you decided, no longer. This is my new standard. And you rose above it. And thank God I followed, right? It was during that we both were kind of like, this isn't the culture that we want to participate in. Sorry, I totally interrupted, but no. Like, think about that even, right? Like, all the funny memes that were coming across and blah, 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 blah. Like, no, I'm not participating in that anymore, right? But I don't think you start with looking who you hang out with, right? Or where you get your advice, or anything like that to kind of measure your environment, right? Why? Because I think you got to start with yourself. That's the premise of our podcast. It starts with you. And I think when you start asking yourself questions, it naturally lets you figure out where your standard is off or what needs recalibrating. And once you find that standard, you can then determine the environments that need to change.
Yeah, and I'm glad I waited. I want to go back to what you said earlier. When you're living in the, what was it? When you're living in the drift, you just don't notice it.
Yeah.
And I will tell you
the rhythm of complacency.
Yeah. And I've been specifically asking myself this year, where have I started accepting things that an older version of me would never have accepted? And that's what kind of the point that we're getting to is not looking exterior and looking more interior to set that culture, to set that standard so that you can change the environments. Because no one, I've been asking myself that, like my health, my marriage, my business, friendships, leadership, everything about me. What am I doing that I would never would have accepted before? Because what I've learned is I said this earlier, you don't wake up wanting to be average. You don't wake up being disconnected from your marriage or your kids or your business. You don't wake up and say, I want to be unhealthy today. And you don't wake up saying, I want a mediocre business. That's not how it works. It happens with, as you said earlier, one compromise, one excuse, one tolerated behavior at a time. And that's why I feel like I've been started asking those questions of myself, not about my environment, but where am I at? What am I tolerating that I shouldn't tolerate?
Yeah. But I feel like the point of today, sorry, I have something in my eye. I feel like the point of today is like, that's good news. Right?
Yeah.
Like the same thing works in reverse. One workout, one difficult conversation. Oh boy. I had plenty of those last week, right? One better decision, one higher standard, repeated over time. It changes everything. Are you thinking about all the difficult conversations I had to have last week?
No, I'm thinking about what you just said. I've said this once before in this podcast, and I say it in person a lot. You always hear about those overnight successes, but what you don't see on the back end is that all the things you just said, that one hard conversation, that one workout, that everything that you do daily, that you set your standard to, that all of a sudden 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, you become an overnight success. They just don't see the things that you did earlier to set your culture up right. And everyone talks about goals, and I love that, meaning here's my goal. Here's what I need to do to get to that goal. But maybe the theme of this week, maybe what we want people to take away from this week is instead of saying, what goal do I have? Maybe start saying, where have I drifted? Where have I drifted in the last year, 6 months? Instead of what goals do I need to do? Because I think if you do that, once you realize where you've drifted, you can change that direction.
Yeah. That's it. That's where the magic is, because the drift is silent while you're living in it. And you have to get out of it. And you have to ask yourself, where have I drifted? And from there, then you can set the standard and put yourself in front of people and places that kind of just help you lock it in naturally.
I love it. I know this is a short one today, but
short one. But if you take our last one and pick it with this one and then divide it in half, it's average.
It's our normal 20 minutes. But I want to reiterate what you said as we close out today is that once you look internally and start seeing where you've drifted and you start seeing what standard you need to put yourself in, that's when you put yourself in front of other people, whether they be coaches or a gym environment or a business mentor, and they help you start locking in that higher standard.
Love it.
You ready to wrap?
Let's wrap.
All right, everyone, have a wonderful week, and we'll talk to you next week.